All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of How to Invest in Commercial Real Estate. And we're excited today because we have got a serial entrepreneur to introduce you to today. And our guests are pretty young, so you may not remember the leisure suit, but we have the inventor, the designer of the leisure suit back from 1970, Jerry Rosengarten. And he's on the show today. And in fact, he's not just a designer, but he's a serial entrepreneur. And he also is a big commercial real estate investor. And so we're going to hear from him today. Welcome, Jerry, to the show.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yep. So what we try to do on this show is give people all the ways that they can get into commercial real estate. And Jerry, tell us, we'll get into all the exciting things you've done in your life, but tell us, how did you get into commercial real estate originally?
When the leisure suit ended, and it ended pretty abruptly, I found myself looking for something else to do. And I noticed lofts. Manhattan was going under water, and lofts were manufacturing buildings that, in fact, became empty. And artists started to take over individual lofts. Now, to describe what a loft is, it's like 10,000 feet, 5,000 feet, even 20,000 feet, high ceilings, a lot of light. Artists were able to work in there and make it work. The only problem was they started living there, and that was illegal based upon city code.
Gotcha.
So I decided to make lofts, and not just for artists, for anybody who wanted to actually live in that type of space. And it became the best space in the city because it was, in fact, the sizes I just said, and there was nothing cookie cutter about it. Every loft was different. So that's how I got into real estate. When I was in the textile business, why I went into real estate was I did a couple of things. I rented a very large space in the MGM building. This is in Manhattan now. This is on 55th and Park Avenue, 6th Avenue. And I rented it for $3 a square foot, which was unheard of today, obviously. It was even unheard of then. And I sublet it into two spaces, one for me and one for a tenant. And I ended up living there rent-free. So that was one thing I did in real estate without intending to be a real estate developer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The next thing, I built a 50,000 square foot factory without really any construction experience or whatever. And it really wasn't that difficult to do that. But that was the second part of being in real estate.
A factory to sell or to use yourself for your own things, or?
At the time, the factory was for the leisure suit.
For the leisure suit, okay. Okay.
We were manufacturing there. And there are a lot of really strange stories about that, as well as the MGM building. But then I went into the lofts. I realized the only place I made money, other than textiles and the leisure suit, was in real estate. And that's when I started to pursue that.
Yeah, I think that's a fairly relatable story. I mean, most people are scared but interested, right? And then they get that first deal, maybe see, okay, this wasn't really as hard as I thought, yeah. and I'm making pretty decent money. If I can continue to do this, I may have something here. I know specifically, I think that was your case, was just buying to quit your job.
Yeah, I mean, I started with single family homes, but the first one worked and the second one worked, and then I just kept doing it. I love the story about the lofts because we're getting close to a similar scenario today where office has kind of been decimated post-pandemic, people working from home, and Manhattan, San Francisco, some of these big cities have all this available office space, and now people are again trying to repurpose it for unique residential uses, and that's what you were doing, 3-4 decades ago, which is cool.
Well, I think that's part of what's going to happen to Manhattan. I mean, Manhattan has got other problems because if there's not a demand, these things will tumble. And you're right, developers are trying to figure out how to deal with it.
Well, cool. So you did lofts. What other areas of commercial real estate did that lead you into, or did you just stick with that plan all along?
No, I started getting involved with the city and look at city auctions, because that was a way of getting in with very little money and so forth and so on. And hopefully I would get a good buy. I was not successful with that. However, I did lease a building for 50 years. That's the cheapest way to own a building, okay? Considering the fact that you'll lease it, you get all the benefit. Depending upon how you lease it, you lease it the right number, you get all the benefits, and you don't have any of the overhead except the rent. So you have to really know that the rent is going to be low compared to what you're going to do. Okay?
Did you actually sign a 50-year lease?
What's that?
Did you actually sign a 50-year lease, or you were just leases along the way?
No, 150-year lease.
Oh, wow. That is incredible.
I had a concept for a medical building. Okay? This was 50,000 square feet, 8 stories, and I decided to make it a medical building.
Is this Manhattan again or somewhere else?
Manhattan. It was on 12th Street and University Place in the Village.
Okay. Tell us about how'd that go?
Well, it took a year before I got my first bite, okay, which was a doctor, obviously. And I learned how to deal with doctors, by the way. You don't call a doctor, Dr. So-and-so. Right away, you get their first name. And get them on the same level as you and just say, John, whatever it is. That's how you deal with doctors.
I love that.
And one of those doctors, this was my approach initially when doctors came in, I would say, what's your first name? Then we go from there. One would not give me his first name.
Neither would my old boss.
He didn't get a space in the building. But the building was occupied for, I don't know, 38 years. It was fully occupied by doctors.
How long did it take you to get it fully occupied from the day you bought it? You said it took a year for the first one. How many years did it take?
I was a little bit involved because it was a staging of my lease. In other words, it took a couple, and then I had the option to take the next and the next and the next, and I took more. Okay, but so the staging is different, but at different times it was always full. Other than the first year, which was real difficult because I thought I really blew it. That's what happened. And it was full. So it became, which I also mention in the book, my drizzler. You know what a drizzler is?
No, what is that?
Yeah, tell us.
It's my word. It's, do you ever hear a company called London Fog?
Yeah.
I've heard of the drink London Fog. It's like a...
they make overcoats.
They make raincoats and overcoats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. It's got a wealth of knowledge right there.
Yes.
So they made, yeah, that's pretty good because a lot of people don't know that. Anyhow, so they made a short little jacket that people wore for golf, and they wore it outside in chilly weather or stuff like that. And that was called, or I call it, their drizzler. And what it did was sold for years in big numbers. And I said, basically, that was the thing that kept the lights on, right? Because this was a product that they could build their whole company on. It covered the lights. The medical building was my Drizzler. I think anyone in real estate, anyone who's doing anything, so real estate's a strange bird. There's cash flow, but you never really have cash until you sell the real estate.
Yeah, isn't that a bitch?
Yeah, it really is. So what you need is a Drizzler. So you don't have to think about where the money's coming from to support you or the business that you put together. And then you can do the projects. Then you have the freedom, basically, to do the projects.
Good point.
No, it sounds like that. Yeah, that one project gave you freedom to pursue everything that you wanted to do because it paid your daily expenses.
And it came about because I couldn't buy real estate. I left, went on vacation, came back, and the prices went through the roof. I couldn't touch it. So I ended up renting.
And so I'm just curious, you said you signed a 50-year lease. What kind of rent escalations were in there? Like, as a landlord, I wouldn't necessarily want to give someone a 50-year lease because I don't know what inflation is going to be 10 years, 20 years from now. How'd you tackle that?
First of all, people got a lot smarter now. Okay? So, and they saw this happen, right? I was making all the money on the building and they were making nothing. Not nothing, but they were making a state income. First of all, there are escalations on everything. So the question is the escalation a 3% escalation or 10% escalation? Are there steps up 5 years out or whatever? I was lucky to get basically like a 3%. And I was, and I had options to take more space as I kept on going. So it was a sweetheart deal. There's no question about it.
3% escalation. I mean, when you hit the late 70s, early 80s, inflation's 18%. You had to be loving your rent at that point.
I loved my rent.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No one likes their rent, but
yeah. To have it be already baked in was crucial. All right, so tell us, what are you doing now? Go for it. Yeah.
They didn't know what to do with the building. They had a vacant building. So if you really think about it, I came in and I saved them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's true.
Yeah, they had a 50,000 square foot building that was empty.
Yeah, it was 80,000 actually.
Oh, 80. Yeah.
I only took 50 because they wouldn't give me more.
Yeah, so tell us what you're doing now, and then we'll get into your book.
Well, I'm building the top of the Bowery Hotel, all right, which will be a great place. It'll be about 5,000 feet on 2 floors and a roof of about 2,000 feet. Now, if you've not been to the Bowery Hotel, you don't really know it well. It's one of those projects that, stand out. Primarily the location and primarily my partners. I mean, they know how to run hotels. Trust me, I don't know that. But I built the building, and if you get to the top of the building, you'll see you have unobstructed views totally of downtown. So it's
And
kind
what are you putting up there? A residence or just what is it?
an apartment.
Apartment. Oh, okay.
Well,
How much is that apartment? Like, how much do you think you're going to sell that apartment for?
I'm not going to sell it, but if I did sell it, it'd be about 20.
Oh my
nice.
gosh.
I know next time we go to Manhattan, we got to stay at the Bowery Hotel just because.
I know a guy.
Yeah, we know a guy now.
Yeah.
That's right. You know a guy.
Well, so our audience is going to look you up. You've written a book. Tell us the name of the book, and let's just give a few minutes on that, because I think it sounds super interesting. And after this conversation, I'm going to get it and read it. Go ahead and tell us about your project.
All right. The book is, if you can see that.
It's a little bit blurry. Hold it back towards your face a little bit.
Or put it in front of your face. Try that. Hold on.
No,
Yep. There it is. We see it. Jump on the train.
Jump on the train.
I consider that title because that's what I've always done. I've jumped on the train and take it to the end. You may know, if you've looked at the book, that I've done restaurants. I've done a solar farm, one of the largest here in the Northeast.
Love that.
Yeah, I'm a big. I was one of the first going into green. I don't know what year that was. It must have been the mid '80s.
Probably.
And it took a long time to build a solar farm. But I built greenhouses, which was a whole other concept. What else? And you can find out all about what's in a greenhouse and what does in the book. The book will tell you how to, maneuver around utilities and government, because they're the biggest obstacles going.
Every time.
What?
Every time.
It's amazing. You know what NIMBYs are, right?
No.
Not in my backyard.
Oh.
Yeah. Nobody wants it in their backyard.
Yeah, they love the idea. They don't want it in their backyard.
I had a couple of instances where I ran into a lot of NIMBYs. And it was kind of crazy because they weren't affected by it. As a matter of fact, in one instance, they were improved by it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe all the instances, they were kind of like improved by it. But they're the worst. I don't know how they wake up every morning.
Well, and tell us, so before the show, you were telling us about another invention that you have. What's that about?
Oh, I've been working. I'm dyslexic, right? You don't know that.
Yeah. Well, we read up on you. We heard that. Yes. Okay.
So, having been dyslexic, one company of all companies helped me through that. All right. And that was Apple Computer. I would not have been able to write this book or a lot of stuff in real estate had it not been the Apple Computer. So I've been trying to produce things for Apple. They don't want me. I don't think they want anybody, but because they're doing pretty good on their own. But the Apple Watch, as you can see there, right?
And you have to hold it up because of your filter. You have to hold it in front of your face. Yeah, we can see it there. Yeah,
now. Yep.
This is a band I developed and patented for the Apple Watch. There are about 300 million watches out there. So it'll stand up like I'm showing you now. So you can see the watch when you put it on the table or whatever. And it's just cool looking.
So it's a wristband, and then you take it off, and it'll just set on your
nightstand. It sits, so you don't have to pick it up to see the time. I love it. Correct. And what do you call it?
It's called the Slide. And then the byline below that is the slide-in stand.
That's pretty neat.
Well, he's got a book. It's called Jump on the Train. He's got a band that's called The Slide for Your Watch. He invented the leisure suit. Guys, you just had a conversation with one of the most interesting men in America.
Yeah.
Please check out his book. Is there a website we can send people to?
You can do jumponthetrain.com.
Jumponthetrain.com. Nice. Jerry, thank you for joining the show today. We're going to get your book and find out more about the amazing life that you've lived. Just another reason why you should look at commercial real estate. Obviously, it gave you freedom to pursue all of these projects. Until next time, guys, thank you very much. How to invest in commercial real estate.